This is Betting Weekly Extra Time, European edition. You're with myself, Dan Roebuck, senior handicapper. Steve Wyss is alongside me, as are Daniele Fisichella and James Easton. We've got 3 picks from each of our cappers, plus a hot dog apiece. And we've got some focus on the Monday night action as well. All to come over the course of the next 45 minutes. 2-unit plays to kick off the show. Steve, we're going to start in Spain. Very good day to you. Real Sociedad Las Palmas, which is an 8 a.m. Saturday game. For those Eastern stateside punters. Real Sociedad short price favourites here. Minus 278. Las Palmas are 8-1 shots. Easy to see why Las Palmas. I mean, they've completely fallen off the edge, haven't they? Here, I looked at the form tables going into this. They're bottom of the 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 match form tables. So maybe easy to oppose. Steve, what are you thinking? How are you?
Oh, all right, Dan. I'm doing fine, thanks. Hi to James and Daniele as well. And I'm going with my 2-unit selection in Spain this week. I should have gone with it last week. I said, didn't I? I missed out on that Villarreal over. It was a stupid price. And I'm staying in Spain, and I'm going I'm going to back a team which have given us a bit of grief over the season in Real Sociedad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I kind of want to prove a point that you can win on anyone in the right situation. Let's take Real Sociedad on the Asian handicap minus 1.25. At minus 117 because they're facing a Las Palmas side who, you're right, they've completely collapsed. But there's an argument to say that they are the worst team in La Liga. If you look at the actual metrics table on expected points, they're bottom. Even the likes of Almeria and teams like Cadiz are above them in the expected points table. So, I think we mentioned it certainly in the first half of the season. I know Will White was big on this, that the goalkeeper for Las Palmas had a particularly good campaign so far. Their defensive metrics have been massively overachieving. And I think what's happened is they've kind of regressed to what they actually are. You know where I'm coming from. The heroics haven't been there. They've lost, is it 7 games in a row now? 6 games in a row. They've not won a game since early February. They've even lost to teams like Almeria. There was a match against Sevilla recently at home. They had an XG of 0.09. I mean, how bad's that? Celta Vigo nearly racked up an XG of 4 in their last away game. So they're just, we don't like to use this term too much now, but they I think they got enough points to be safe, and they literally have been on the beach. And there's plenty of beaches there in Gran Canaria, isn't there, to be on and enjoy themselves on. They've done well. They've newly promoted side. I think the Real Sociedad will show their class here and certainly at least win the game. They need the points. They need to secure themselves in that top 6. And this
haven't been in great form, Steve, though, have they?
No, it's a worry for them that they couldn't beat Almeria at home recently. Although Almeria have shown a lot more fight. And look, the continual trend for the Real Sociedad, they played quite well, didn't they, last week against Real Madrid at home? Yet again, they spurned a lot of chances, look good on the eye, don't they? They never look bad. It's just converting their chances. But as I said, there's a big part of this bet is the fade of Las Palmas. Isn't Real Sociedad a sort of side they can trust too often? But this feels like a really good spot for them. And all that frustration built up over the season, this wouldn't actually surprise me if it's a big win. Celta Vigo can beat Las Palmas 4-1. Real Sociedad is certainly capable of the same, aren't they? So very happy to take them on this handicap. If they win by 1 goal, which can't ever be ruled out, can it, with this team? We'll only lose half the stake. But again, it's a percentage bet, isn't it?
So Real Sociedad minus 1.25 on the Asian handicap at minus 117 against Las Palmas. Daniele's 2-unit play next midday Sunday, Milan against Genoa. I think this is bet of the week for me. I hope I've not jinxed it, as Nigel would say. Milan minus 240, Genoa plus 650, and the draw plus 370. Daniele, hello to you.
Hi.
I backed Cagliari on various Asian lines against Genoa on Monday, and I thought Genoa were brilliant. And I think I knew I was going to lose my bet inside the opening 10 or 15 minutes. I thought Genoa impressive in front of that home fans as well. Obviously, they're away here, and they've been sneakily good though away from home recently, Daniele, haven't they?
They got 42 points in the table to start with Genoa, so they're going to be safe. The newly promoted side, second best tally since 2016. Amazing job from Alberto Gilardino, who's going to be the next the coach for next season. He's going to renew his contract, and now faces his former club, AC Milan. Milan, who's going through the casting for the new managers, and apparently Lopetegui is not Mr. Popular because a petition signed by thousands of Milan fans with the very catchy phrase of "No Petegui" has won. So Ibrahimovic and Cardinale decided, well, on to the next. That's Italian football for you. Anyway, so Milan, through rough patches, really winless in 3 games, can finish the season on a high if they win the 3 next home games against Genoa, Cagliari, and Salernitana. They are good value at home, Milan. They only failed to score twice, but against Juve, they did deserve to lose. And Sportiello, the goalkeeper, was the best player. So everything is a little bit downbeat now in the Milan camps, opposite to Genoa, who only 1 defeat in the last 6 and only 1 defeat in the last 9 games on the road, and that was 2-1 against Inter, where Inter were still in the thick of it to win the league. They failed to score 6 times away from home, but recently, as you mentioned, Dan, good draws against Bologna, Napoli, Juve, Fiorentina. All those games were under 2.5 goals, but yet Genoa scoring 3 out of 4 of those occasions. So I'm gonna go for an Asian handicap plus 125 for Genoa, which pays minus 124. Now, if Genoa wins, you win. If they draw, you win. If they lose by 1 goal, you still win half a stake. This is a 2 units pick, so effectively you will win over 1 unit or around about that. Why am I not going for the double chance X2 for Genoa? Because Milan could win 1-0 or 2-1. There's always that risk that having the pressure on them. So I try to cover myself a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think it's a big an Asian handicap line in Genoa's favour. I really like the play. Let's hope we're the right side, because I actually thought that when Cagliari played Genoa, because Cagliari got some good results ahead of their game. But anyway, that went wrong. Hopefully this one will go right. Let's get James's 2U play, which is Metz against Rennes here. Metz 275, the draw minus 104. Rennes minus 104. The draw is plus 260. Overs has been key, James, since we talked about it, or you highlighted it. I don't know, mid-March, was it 17% return on investment? My numbers here helped with 8 out of 9 last week. I mean, you went through some stats and said, look, last sort of third quarter of the season, this is what tends to happen in France.
Yes, it is what tends to happen, Dan. The goals count goes up in France pretty much every season. Certainly, if you look at the last 3 seasons of data, we've had a high number of over 2.5 goals games in the final, you're right, sort of quarter of the season. And what's crucial, of course, to make a profit is that the prices hold up as well. And so far in League One, same as in recent seasons as well, prices have held up. So I think it was that we had the international break, didn't we, in March? And when we came back, I think it was match day 27 out of 34 in France. From that point onwards, you would have made a pretty substantial profit if you'd been back in all games to have overs. Now, the issue from here to the end of the season, we've got 3 match days left, is the prices will shorten on overs. So maybe you would have already made the bulk of your profit, but I'm still happy to take overs because I think the number of games with overs will continue to hold up. So my pick on this match, the Metz versus Rennes game, is over 2.5 goals. It's available at minus 118. And I think that price down there, it's odds on. So people might think, well, it's not that short, but actually I think that's pretty good value on a game between 2 sides who have been better offensively than defensively recently, which is obviously crucial, and B, both have something to play for here. So I really like the games towards the end of the season where there's something at stake for both teams. We've got Metz at home here, who are battling to avoid relegation. It's really tight at the bottom of the table in League One. You can't afford to play for draws at the moment. You have to try to win your matches. And then we've got Rennes away from home here, who are battling to get into Europe and at the moment are below the European positions. So they really have to go here this weekend and look to win this game. They lost 5-4 at home to Brest last weekend. That was a massive blow for them psychologically. They've really got to go for it here, and they've got enough potential to win it, and they know that offensively they're stronger than they are defensively. So I'm expecting an open match here, and like I say, the price may be odds on, minus 118, but I think given the general trends in France and given the specific situation that these two teams find themselves in, I think that's a pretty good price.
Yeah, minus money, but only just very much on trend for Metz against Rennes. Let's talk hot dogs, and we're going to kick off with James's pick because it's in the same game here. And at this stage, when I was putting the running order together last night, I was going to say hats off to JE who picked up who tipped a few shots on target winners in our YouTube comment section, and it's taken me a week to realise that JE is indeed James Easton. So more
no wonder
for
why
me.
it's so good.
Yeah, you know, I thought, who is this guy? I thought, well done, types in, yeah, well done, mate. Nice one. Good luck for the weekend, blah, blah, blah. And then I went back to it. I thought, I'll just give him I'll give him a name check on the show. He'll enjoy that. Oh, he's on the show. So well done to James for highlighting those ones in our YouTube because they weren't necessarily part of the show. But you've gone a bit wild here. It's the same game, James. So you can talk us through this one. This is Metz Rennes, obviously. It's a 1 p.m. Saturday for Eastern plays. And this obviously all the same game and 3 different players.
Yes, I'll try to add my name to the YouTube picks from now on to just avoid any confusion there. Yeah, so it's the same game. It's Metz versus Rennes. And 2 of the players here are actually the 2 players I highlighted on the YouTube comments last week. Is Arnaud Caliwendo and George Mikau-Tads. So they're 2 of the players I'm backing here for a hot dog in the over 0.5 shots on target market. And I am going to add a 3rd player in as well for a parlay. The 3rd player being Martin Terrier of Rennes as well. So you've got 3 players here, Caliwendo, Terrier and Mikau-Tads, who I'm willing to back in an over 0.5 shots on target parlay. Now, I should say, Dan, since we did these picks in our usual way on the WhatsApp group, the price has shortened massively on Mikau-Tads. He's come in now to minus 182 on his own to have a shot on target. And what that means is the price on the parlay is now a lot shorter as well. It's more like 370 now, plus 370 rather than plus 460. I'm still very happy to take it at plus 370 because I think all 3 of these players do give you a good chance here to have a shot on target. Just working through them quickly. Caliwendo has been in fantastic form in terms of shots on target. He's managed 1 shot on target at least in his last 4 matches. If you were looking to one of these 3 to back individually, he would be my pick because he's available at plus 102 on his own to have a shot on target. Martin Terrier's minus 110 to have a shot on target in this game. He was in great form last weekend in this market. He had 3 shots on target out of 4 attempts on goal in Rennes' game against Brest. And Mikau-Tads, what can you say about him? He's just scoring so many goals at the moment. I think he's got 7 goals now for Metz in his last 9 matches. In the games where he's not scoring, he's generally managing a shot on target. He's on penalties for Metz as well. He's really a one-man team at the moment as Metz are trying to avoid relegation. So going into this game, which, as I've said with my 2-unit pick down, I think will be an open match. We should see plenty of scoring chances at both ends of the pitch. And these are the players to look out for in the shot on target market. Caliwendo and Terrier for Rennes and Mikau-Tads for Metz. As I say, if you're just looking for one to go with, I would go with Caliwendo. You can, of course, just do a double. You can just do 2 out of the 3, and obviously there's combinations you can do there. But I'm happy to back all 3 here. It's obviously a big price for a hot dog, but I think plus 370 with these 3 players, the form they're in, well worth taking.
Yeah, we need some winners on the hot dog front, I think, Steve, don't we? What you got for us this week?
You're absolutely right. If one of us has to win the hot dog, otherwise it will be in a loss overall this week. It's been a lean run. My own hot dog, I've about given up hope with it. I think
you're the inventor. You're the inventor of the hot dog. You're the daddy. You're the hot dog's daddy.
Victim of my own success in the first half of the season with it, because it's torture now each week. For me, I mean, I said the shortlist last week. I got the draw, didn't I? In that Sevilla game, that's the one I should have gone with. So the top 3 again this week for me was Augsburg. We're going to talk about them later. Nantes to beat Brest. I don't dare get involved in the Brest game now, so that's out the window. And the one I'm going with is in Germany, and this is a bit of a weird one. I'm almost breaking quite a lot of my own rules here, but I'm going with Darmstadt. Draw double chance against Wolfsburg at plus 190. Now, I have an old saying in betting: bad things happen when you bet on bad teams. And Darmstadt are a bad team. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. You know, I think on the Premier League show, on the Premier League show, I think Sheffield United are tipped up again this week, and now we've got Darmstadt needing to make us some money on this show. Look, the thing is, Wolfsburg, for me, they've won their last 2 games, but before then, they were really poor and treading water and just sort of meandering towards the end of the season. I think they should have enough points now, and I think Wolfsburg might drop off a bit the last 2 or 3 games. To be fair, a draw is not a bad result for them. It might secure their survival mathematically. Darmstadt have just been relegated. They've only got 17 points. They've won 3 games all season. On expected points, they should have had 7 or 8 more. So they've not been quite as bad as the table suggests. They knew the relegation was coming. You know, I read their manager's interview after the game last week. Torsten Lieberknecht said, we're just going to brush this off. We knew it was coming and we're here for a long-term project. So I think the feeling's not that bad. I mean, the sort of side, they're down, but they're going to give it everything still. Do you know what I mean? They're a prideful sort of side. And their away record has been better than at home, really. Darmstadt, there's 3 teams with a worse away record than Darmstadt. Only two defeats away from home in their last 5. Beat Cologne last time out. I was tempted to actually take them on the nose at plus 600. I thought, why not just swing from the rafters here and see if they can get a win from it? But like I said, I think that draw wouldn't be the worst outcome for Wolfsburg. I'm tentative here because, like I said, but bad teams have a knack of losing games, don't they? But there was no way I would take Wolfsburg. The Wolfsburg handicap's like minus 1.25. That's just silly. I would not be ever taking that in a million years. And I just think Darmstadt, now they're down, pressure's off a bit. They can just enjoy their football and might be able to get a result here. So plus 190 on the draw double chance for the cellar dwellers of the Bundesliga to get me out of this hot dog funk. It's not pleasant back in a bad team like this, but I've just got a good hunch about this game.
That's 9:30 Saturday, 2:45 Sunday, main game in Italy. Daniele is focusing on 2 good teams here. Well, at least we think good teams. Roma against Juventus is the feature of your hot dog, Daniele. Talk us through it.
Under 1.5 goals plus 190 for me. So either a 1-0 or a 0-0 this one. So probably another Juventus classic. To be fair, Juve against Milan deserve to win. They had 7 shots on target. Sportiello, the Milan goalkeeper, was the man of the match, but they couldn't go above the 4th 0-0 of the season. Juventus, always the same issues with them. When they play badly, they don't score. When they play well, they still don't score. They still have issues at converting clear-cut chances. Only scored 3 goals in the last 6 games. Look, Allegri is going to be judged on points and whether he wins the Coppa Italia or not. Nobody remembers the performance, especially when you do 0-0. But actually, they did all right against Milan. They got 1 point less in the table compared to last season. In the last 14 games since De Rossi has replaced Mourinho, Roma have done twice as better as Juve. They got 13 points compared to 16 and score almost the double amount of goals, 29 against 15. But Roma have got the Europa League semi-final to deal with, and they come after a tough run of fixtures, not helped by the Italian FA decision to play them, to make them play against Udinese in midweek last week. Juve are going through a difficult spell, only the 6th best attack in Serie A. They are winless Juventus on the road since the 21st of January. I can't imagine this being a classic, and Juventus have remained scoreless in the first half on 21 occasions this season, only taking the lead away from home in 8 times. For me, the 0-0 at half time is probably another good bet, but I'm going to go under 1.5 goals plus 190.
Yeah, Daniele's had good success with these very big unders prices for 1.5 goals. Let's hope we have a quiet Roma Juventus. And if it's 0 at half time, you could, of course, cash in. We are, of course, hoping that the hot dogs wake up.
All right, here we go.
No, not this one. Not this one. Not today. Right, let's get some second picks, shall we? We go to Spain for Steve's second selection. Rayo Vallecano against Almeria, 3 p.m. Sunday, Eastern time. Rayo minus 177, Almeria plus 460, the draw plus 320. Almeria, I think, are down, are they, Steve? Now, Rayo might need another win to stay up, but probably will stay up. What's your thoughts here? What's the play?
Well, I went with the over 2.5 in the Rayo Vallecano match last week against Villarreal, and it cashed. It's 3-0 win for Villarreal. There should have been more goals in it, and I think this is a bit of a sloppy pricing up of a line. based on the whole seasonal stats of Rayo Vallecano, and they have been involved in a lot of under matches, like I said last week. But a team can't play like that throughout the whole season, Dan. At the end of the year, especially when the pressure's kind of off a bit more, then you often see these sort of sides get involved in some more shootouts. And they should really have enough points already on the board. I don't think they're in any relegation trouble. They can put that to bed by beating Almeria anyway. An Almeria side, I mean, the underachievement for these two sides is unbelievable, by the way. They've got between them, over 30 points of underachievement, over 20 goals of underachievement. So it's kind of like they're not as bad as you think. Almeria certainly have played better than they should have. And they've had the second most over 2.5 goal games in La Liga, been involved in a lot of higher scoring games of late. I mean, that's what happens to teams at the bottom of the table usually. You know, they might as well just enjoy their football, the pressure's off, put on a show for the fans, go out swinging. And I think this will be an open game. I can't believe the goal line's over 2.5 goals at minus 129, I think the price is now.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, it is, yeah.
I think that's just too generous, just like last week. I just think it's a bit sloppy pricing up. Rayo Vallecano games have definitely been far more open recently. And this is, I mean, they could cover this goal line on their own if Almeria and just defending as bad as they have. So, but I do expect both teams to score. I think it'd be quite a decent watch. And, to keep things simple, it's just a value pick. Dan, I nearly went with a 2 unit on this, actually. Again, I hope I don't regret it because it just looks like it's a line that's way out of place and we've got to snap up those when we can.
That's Rayo against Almeria. We like over 2.5 goals, minus 129. Verona for Fiorentina for Daniele next. This is 9 a.m. on Sunday. Verona plus 225. Fiorentina plus 135. Verona need the points, Daniele. Don't need to avoid the drop in their battle against relegation. Fiorentina in between those Conference League semi-finals. What are your thoughts here? What's the play?
It's a big price. Verona tie no bet plus 120. It's, I think, worth going for it. Of course, the most likely outcome for me is both to score here, but why not going for a big price considering what is on the line for Verona? Verona have slowed down a little bit. Only 5 points in the last 6 games. They still got plus 2 points on Udinese, who's currently third from bottom. But Verona, it is a team that all season long, they never been trashed. They always been very competitive, especially against the top sides. And Fiorentina are going through a rough patch. They won only back-to-back games in Serie A for the first time, thanks to the 5-win against Sassuolo. Fiorentina won the last 2 games against Salernitana and Sassuolo, making huge turnover because, of course, they've been involved in the Coppa Italia semi-final, and there is the Conference League semi-final return leg, of course, next week. But they were facing Salernitana and Sassuolo, 2 teams that are at the bottom of the league and are frankly desperate. Salernitana is already relegated, by the way. With Verona is a different story, and I think with the more changes Italiano makes, the more it will upset the balance of a still fragile team. Verona, as I mentioned, they don't get trashed. Against Lazio was the first time they failed to score in the last 8 games, yet they had a lot of chances, especially with Widerski and Henry. And Fiorentina failed to score 7 times away from home. It might not be a goal fest, but Verona could nick a win that should basically see them saved. Verona tie no bet, plus 120.
It's interesting as well. You mentioned that Fiorentina seem to be involved in a lot of unders games. Minus 155 for under 2.5, and plus money for over 2.5 in the current scheme of a lot of leagues going over. That's an interesting way that market is framed. Second pick from James, Brest against Nantes, 3 p.m. Saturday. This one Eastern time. Brest a minus 137, Nantes plus 400. Is this a sync game, Steve? Have I got this right? Where both teams need something or not? Is that to relegation?
Well, No, it's not that. I actually really like Nantes to win this game. And you plus 400, it was nearly my hot dog. But Brest just keep doing me every week, don't they? So,
yeah.
James, what have you gone for here in this one?
Yeah, I've actually gone on the goals rather than the teams here. So it's over 2.25 goals at minus 129. We've obviously been through the stats in League One generally with the goals. So moving aside from that, there are a couple of other reasons why I do think this might go overs, one for each team. On Brest, by beating Rennes last weekend, they have qualified for Europe, which is a massive achievement for one of the smaller clubs in League One. They can now relax. They've got 3 games to go, and they can just relax. and put everything they've got into trying to claim a Champions League place, because they're in Europe, which is already overachievement. Let's see if we can push on and get a Champions League place. So I think the mood in the Brest camp, well, it has been very positive all week. I think they'll go out here and have a real go. And we've been seeing that from Brest anyway recently. Their games have been very high scoring. They've conceded 13 goals in their last 4 matches, and yet they've managed to win a couple of those. So we know how they're playing at the moment. And Nantes are down at the bottom of the table. Now, if you look at this game from Nantes' point of view, they're 3 points above the relegation zone as we're talking here going into it. So you might think, well, a draw could be a good result for Nantes, given they're above the relegation zone at the moment. I don't think they can reason like that. And the fact is that their fixture list is so tough during this final few weekends of the season. They just can't calculate. After this game, they've got Lille at home, who are 4th, and they then got Monaco away, who are 2nd. So it's a really tough end to the season. And I think if you're Nantes, you just have to go for the wins here. They're only just above the relegation zone. They can't be thinking a draw is good enough with those 2 very tough games coming up to finish the season. So whether they want to be attacking or not here, I think Nantes at some point are going to have to try and win this game. And I think if you put all of that together with the stats on League One as they've been in the last few weeks, I think we're on here for another open match. So I was slightly surprised at the price here, over 2.25 goals at minus 129. If you wanted to be a bit bolder, you can go for over 2.5, which is available at odds against this plus 107, I think. So I'm being slightly more conservative, but either way, I think overs is the play.
Just very quickly, Steve, why do you think Nantes at 4-1 might be a play if people want to get involved?
Well, it's a local Brittany derby, and funny things can happen in these sort of games. As James said, I think Nantes kind of have to swing a bit here, don't they? The last 2 games are actually harder, really, than this. A draw might suit both teams in a way, but equally, I think the 3 points is really like a dangling carrot. They just look overpriced to me. There's not so much of a golfing class between the sides on paper. I've said that all year, I haven't know with Brest games, but there's no way. What would Brest? Minus 137. 40? No way. In no way would I back that with Monopoly money, Dan. I think Nantes are a big price. Yeah, I really do. I like the goals as well. This goal line's too low. Brest at the matches have been wild of late, and it's because their defensive dynamics have just kind of broken up. They've had to rely on their offense, which, to be fair, has been not bad. They give it a good go going forward.
We like over, and 2.25 goals is the line, but if you want to play Nantes at a bigger price, you are more than welcome. Of course, that's maybe a little bit of a value play in that game. Monday club action for us. Welcome along to the Monday club. Not quite Adams, Merson and Company from back in the day. I think that was Tuesday rather than Monday anyway. But something for the first day of the week if things haven't gone to plan over the course of the weekend. Unfortunately, we've been suffering from that in recent shows. Hopefully an opportunity to claw a bit back if you've had a bad weekend, or make even more if you've had a good weekend. No official plays, but we just thought we'd put some leans up and some thoughts on the 3 games. We've got 2 in Italy and 1 in France. Daniele, you can go first here. Anything that catches your eye? Salernitana Atalanta is a midday Eastern. Udinese in Napoli is 2:45. The Monday night game in Italy, 2:45 Eastern in the States. Anything that might have caught your eye for bettors that want a little play on a Monday night game?
The value in the Salernitana-Atalanta game is for Atalanta to have a healthy win, but let's not discard the fact that they're going to make a lot of rotation, a lot of changes. They've picked in the right time, but a team that has scored 3 at Anfield and 2 goals twice in the stadium of Alvalade in Lisbon against the elected Portugal champions. I don't think they're going to drop points against Salernitana, considering they can still finish 5th in the league and qualify for Champions League. Atalanta to score in both halves against Italy's worst defense, I think, is the value here. And moving on into Udinese, Napoli, impossible to trust Napoli now. They changed 3 manager. I don't know who's been the worst so far, because they're only 1 win in the last 6 6 under Calzona. No clean sheets since 28th of January. Udinese, the kings of draws, 17 draws in Serie A, but to be safe, they need at least 7-8 points for the next 4 games, otherwise they'll be relegated for the first time since 1992. Only 3 home clean sheets for Udinese this season, managed by the Napolitan Cannavaro against Napoli. Napoli playing in the stadium where they won the title last year. How many stories there are? For me, it's an over 2.5 goals, really. For me, Udinese Napoli over and Atalanta to score in both halves.
I love that. Brilliant. Some nice narrative there with Napoli. Steve, anything that catch your eye on any of these 3 games? Don't know if you're focusing on the Lille-Lyon one. I'm sure James is, but anything that caught your eye?
Well, that tie in Udinese and Napoli, plus 280. I mean, they've had so many draws, haven't they?
Yes.
You know, you wouldn't back Napoli at minus 115, would you? The way they've been playing. I think the value's on the draw double chance on Udinese there. And it's a shame that Atalanta game happens right in the middle of their European game. Otherwise, I think that would be a massive win normally, wouldn't it? Else they would go there and probably put 3 or 4 past them. They still might. But there'll be rotation, like Daniele says. There's a bet I like in the Lille-Lyon game. It's the same game parlay at plus 170, and I'd lean towards Lille winning over 2.5 goals. I think I think they're a better side than Lyon, but equally, I think it's hard to see this match containing less than a couple of goals. Really, it's that could be one. If you're after a bit of value hunting, plus 170, Lille winning over 2.5.
Which leads us nice into James's thoughts, because you've got a play that nearly made your shortlist for official picks, James.
Yeah, Lille-Lyon, I'm going theme of the show here for League One, Dan, so you won't be surprised. I'm going over 2.5 goals here. I could quite easily have traded this in for one of the one unit picks that I have gone with. I leaned away from it just because of the price, really. It's minus 129 is this game to have over 2.5 goals, so it's a bit shorter than some of the other picks, but honestly, it's as strong a pick on many metrics. Just very quickly on the stats here, Dan, 79% of all games in League One involving these 2 teams in 2024 have had over 2.5 goals. It just shows how the over 2.5 goals market has swung towards games having 3 or more goals as we've gone deeper into the season, because people might forget now, but the first half of the season, especially early on, was very low scoring in France. Unders all the way, and you might have thought, well, are we seeing a sea change here in terms of how many goals we're having in this league? I think over this season, the goals count in League One will be down on the last 2 seasons, but obviously we're making up some ground now. And I think it's important to run with it while you can. So yeah, like on the other games, overs is my pick here.
Those are the Monday leans for you. Let's get to some official plays to wrap things up. We've got one each from the boys before a very brief look at the Spanish title Champions League situation. Steve, you're first up, 9:30 a.m. Saturday with your last official pick.
Yeah, this is in the German Bundesliga, Dortmund against Augsburg, and I'm going with Augsburg on the draw double chance, plus 110. This is a proper sandwich game for Dortmund, right in the middle of the Champions League double header against...
Is that a new phrase, or have you used it before?
Well, I'm nicking this one. I'm nicking this one from Neil Channing on the Reaction Show. Reckons that it's quite a big phrase used over in America, sandwich game.
Okay.
So,
all right,
yeah.
Where does the sink game follow? Does the sink game follow the sandwich? Yeah.
There's a lot of different sort of terminologies that I keep using, but yeah, this is a new one. Okay. But basically, I think Dortmund. Dortmund are now guaranteed 5th place, and because they beat PSG in midweek first leg, then they have confirmed that Germany's going to get 5 Champions League spots. So, they're landlocked. They're either going to finish 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Does it really matter where they finish? It doesn't now, does it? They could lose every game. Their priority is trying to win the Champions League. So expect a lot of rotation. Expect a lot of focus on the PSG game, more than anything, really. They kind of really wouldn't mind sacking this one off. So I think Augsburg are a big price, and I expect Dortmund to kick off about even money, if not more. So this price will probably rise on Dortmund. But Augsburg are still in the mixer to finish in a European spot, so they're going to be giving it absolutely everything. Bit of a weird side. You honestly haven't got a clue which version of Augsburg is going to show up. But they've lost the last 2 games, which actually encourages me. Means they're probably due not to lose a game. That's the way they work. So plus 110 on the draw double chance here. It's I'm just a bit surprised. I did last weekend on the Instagram Saturday parlay. It's a big shout out to the Instagram account, by the way.
flying.
Everyone do give that a follow. There's lots of exclusive content on there. But I did on the Saturday parlay that my pick was Leipzig to beat Dortmund, because I felt they were going to be looking ahead. They got absolutely battered. Now, of course, Augsburg are not as good as Leipzig, but the same principle applies. Like I said, I love betting against teams in this sort of situation. And, Augsburg have got goals in them. I mean, I'm just at the time of recording, it's a massive prize for me. Draw double chance on the visitors against a side that's going to be fully focused on the Champions League.
2:45 Saturday for Daniele's final pick, and we go for a goal scorer play here. Daniele in Sassuolo, Inter.
Lautaro Martinez to score. The captain, goal scorer, top goal scorer of Serie A, who hasn't scored since the end of February, and he's desperate to score a goal. If you've seen him in the game against Torino, he had 3 or 4 shots. Everyone is trying to set it up nicely for him. They're going to be turnover for Inter, who are still chasing the number of points they can record, 101 for them. So, Martinez is going to play, and he's going to play against the second worst defense in Serie A, was already conceded 70 goals. Sassuolo 15 in the last 6, only 2 clean sheets so far this season, and in both games Fiorentina and Frosinone missed a penalty. They look doomed, by the way. Sassuolo, they need at least 9 points for the next 4 games to be saved, so my bet is for the Inter captain to score anytime, minus 105. I think it's a very, very good price. And by the way, Martinez has scored against Sassuolo in each of the previous 4 seasons, but not in this one. So I think he's due a goal. Minus 105, Martinez to score.
I love that one. Yeah, 5 goals, just checking how many scored against them. And he's got a very good record against Sassuolo. Let's hope he gets on the score sheet this weekend. And finally, to wrap things up with James, 9 a.m. Saturday, Le Havre against Strasbourg for you, James.
Yeah, Le Havre against Strasbourg, over 2.25 goals at minus 107, Dan. Again, if you prefer over 2.5, you want to be a bit bolder than I am, you can get that odds against. But it's another of these games in Ligue 1 that I think will go overs this weekend. Le Havre, well, they scored 3. Nobody saw that coming against PSG last weekend. They drew 3-3. Admittedly, PSG had one eye on that Champions League semi-final against Dortmund. But from Le Havre's point of view, it was a good performance. A couple of the goals were very good. If you look at the highlights of the game, Christopher Oppery from left wing back and Andre Ayew scored really good goals. So I think Le Havre will go into this match pretty confident about their attacking ability. And a bit like we talked about with Nantes, the fixture list for Le Havre, who are battling relegation, is absolutely crucial, because after this match, they've only got 2 games to go, and they are against Nice and Marseille, 2 teams who may well have something to play for themselves, both going for a place in Europe. This is the one remaining match for Le Havre against a team with nothing to play for. Strasbourg are on the beach, mid-table side, and they're pretty happy about that, because at one stage it looked like they'd get sucked into the relegation battle. So it's a must-win game for Le Havre, and I think they're going to attack hard here to make sure they get the points. Strasbourg, I think, can contribute to it being an open game. Although they've lost their last couple of matches with very little at stake, they've actually attacked fairly well. They scored last weekend when they lost 3-1 against Nice, and they had some other chances in that game as well. So I think everything is set up here, both in terms of where these 2 teams are in the league table and how they played recently for an overs game. And I just felt, with the over 2.25 at close to evens, it's a great opportunity to hedge your bets a little bit. You'd only lose half your stakes if there are exactly 2 goals in the game. So that's my pick. It's over 2.25 goals, and it's available at minus 107.
And just before we wrap up the show, we thought we'd just focus very briefly on what the situation is at the top of the table. Spain is, Steve, we've got Girona versus Barcelona. I think whichever one wins qualifies for the Champions League. They're both probably going to get there anyway, but it's just a storyline going into it, with Girona plus 180, Barcelona plus 132. They are playing 12:30 Saturday Eastern. Madrid are playing a little bit earlier, 10:15. And obviously, if that Girona-Barcelona game ends up being a draw and they win, they will win the title. I think I've got that right. They are very short to beat, Cadiz, who are plus 850. But obviously, Real Madrid involved in Champions League action. Any sort of thoughts or leans on just the Spanish situation at the top of the table?
Yeah, I was looking at this table, and it's remarkable. You kind of forget Real Madrid have only lost 1 league game all season. Can you remember who that was against, Dan?
Against Atletico Madrid. 3-1 against Atletico Madrid.
Yeah,
I was in Madrid that day. Unforgettable for other reasons. But
They've only had 6 draws as well. I mean, no one ever bets on Real Madrid on this show, even when we had
very
full
rarely.
component. It's mad, isn't it? How they just go under the radar, even now. So, look, this is a battle for second place. I really like the goals here. Actually, I would take over 3.5 goals, probably at plus 120 if I was. Not even gun to my head, actually. I'll probably have a nibble of this anyway, because the previous reverse fixture was a wild one. Was it 3-2 to Barcelona? Girona are a very, very offensive team. That's why they're here. That's why they are going to be qualifying for the Champions League next season. It's their offense which gets them there. They are fearless. They will attack. And I think Barcelona will kind of want to put them in their place a bit here. Show them we're still Barcelona. We can still... So it's a bit of a macho versus macho matchup. It could end a bit wild. And... it'd just be Barcelona's season, wouldn't it? They'd lose this sort of game again. So maybe like 3-2 to Girona again or something like that. But I mean, the goal line is high. You could take that over 3 or over 3.25 for a bit of security. But I think this will be a decent game. The Real Madrid match, by the way, I mean, they, as I say, they could be champions this weekend. Cadiz are fighting for their life. I don't know what price Cadiz are.
Plus 850.
Yeah, I mean, you can't back them at the Bernabeu, can you? But they're just, at some point, I mean, to be fair, there's still 5 games left in La Liga. You forget there's still quite a few games left. If they could get anything, I suppose it'd be a bonus, wouldn't it? There,
be interesting.
Big ass.
Yeah, some good games, I think, in Spain this weekend. Thanks for that, Steve. Steve, Daniele, James, many thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We'll keep everyone up to date. We're hoping for a better week this weekend. We know the last couple of weeks haven't been exactly what we hoped for. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Extra Time European show. We are back next week for Picks Place Hot Dogs. Give us a follow at Because We Win. As Steve mentioned, we're on Instagram as well. All of the boys contribute to some exclusive parlays and picks over the course of the weekend. And obviously, comment on our YouTube channel as well. Hopefully I'll realize that if it's one of the boys commenting, I'll know who it is this time. From all of us for now, though, goodbye.